Welcome to Real Talk with Sarah. In this show, it's all about relationships. They say that relationships are assignments in which people are brought together to learn. Well, let's get ready to learn. I've got relationship expert Marian Meade on the show, teaching us how to have the best possible relationship with the most important person in each of our lives, ourselves. And later, she'll also help us define a healthy relationship with others and teach us what we can do if it's gotten a little off track. I'll also have Linda Miller of Misty River Introductions with me, teaching us what people really are searching for when they're looking to find a partner. And later, I'll have Kate McNamara from A Date by Kate, helping us to avoid falling into dating ruts with her fun and inventive date ideas. We've got a lot to get to, so let's do this. Episode 7 of Real Talk with Sarah starts right now. We hear a lot about self-care and self-love, but I want to know why it's so important to develop a healthy relationship with ourselves and how we can go about it on a daily basis. Well, there's no one better than relationship and emotional fitness specialist Marian Meade to help us navigate our way through relationships, starting with the one we have with the person in the mirror. Welcome, Marian.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks so much for being with me.
It's a pleasure.
So I want to know, what do we need to do to cultivate a really healthy relationship with ourselves? Because that's where we can't get into a good relationship if we aren't in a good relationship with ourselves.
Absolutely. And, we're born knowing that we are magnificent, we're worthy, we're adored. We know that. And unfortunately, we lose that pretty quickly because as humans, we're biologically wired to focus on the negative. It's a kind of a adaptive mechanism from thousands of years ago to keep us from being attacked by, saber-toothed tigers and things, but it's kind of lost its benefit for us now, but it's still in play.
Wow, so like the inner critic, we talked about that a few episodes ago.
Yes.
So it's part of the ego.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Keep going, tell us more.
Yeah, so here we are feeling really worthy and loving life and unstoppable, but then we have this inner critic coming in. We have our minds, which want to take us all over the place and deposit all this negative self-talk into our minds, into us, and we have like thousands and thousands of thoughts every single day, and most of them are negative. They're not only negative, they don't even have anything to do with us. A lot of them are inherited. They're all critical. And the worst of it is that they're unmonitored.
Like we just have these thoughts, we're ruminating, we're going through past events, we're thinking or worrying about the future, and this is just all happening on autopilot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, these thoughts have a huge impact on us because they determine our picture of us, our self-concept, what we believe we deserve, and what we can get out of life, how far we think we can go. So it's a huge, huge negative impact, and yet most people don't even realize that they're doing it or that they have any control over it.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Whether or not we even notice that those are our thoughts, which I agree, I don't think most of us do, but that, knowledge that we don't even have any control over this. This is just happening. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we actually need to deliberately take action in order to change that.
Okay, how do we take action to change that? What do we need to do?
What we need to do is become mindful of the thoughts that we are thinking. So if you've got thoughts coming into your mind and they don't feel good, then you need to stop and have a look at those. You don't want to spend your whole life listening to all your thoughts or tuning into them and monitoring them, but let's say you're suddenly not feeling good, you're feeling kind of wobbly, ill at ease, maybe feeling kind of down. That's your cue to kind of say, okay, what am I thinking about? Maybe I've just criticized myself. Oh, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, things like that. You can look at that thought and say, hey, wait a minute, that wasn't my thought. I didn't choose it. and I'm not going to focus on it. Whenever you take your attention away from something, it actually disappears. So if you practice letting go of thoughts that don't feel good, over time they will disappear.
Makes me think of the law of attraction. Where
Totally.
what we think about, we bring about, thoughts become things, what we focus on expands.
Yep, it's exactly the same thing.
So we need to be catching ourselves in the moment where we're not feeling very well, where we say, wait a minute, was I just saying something negative to myself? And then we need to change that thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes if we've carried a thought with us for a long time and it has a lot of momentum, we're not going to be able to let it go really quickly. So in that case, what you might want to do, if you can, if you're not at work, you might want to take a nap, walk the dog, watch TV, get on the phone. You want to do something to shake up that neural pathway, that thought system that you're on. And that way you're just kind of let that momentum drop until it goes away. And then once it's kind of dissipated, then you can start anew, start afresh, instead of getting upset with yourself for thinking it.
That makes a lot of sense. So these are thoughts like, I'm not worthy. You mentioned that. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't deserve this job. It can be really anything that's negative about ourselves.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, we all have those thoughts. They come in. Like I said, we've inherited a lot of these beliefs. We've had experiences in our past which trigger us and get us thinking about those things. And of course, our mind just wants to drop these thoughts in any old time, especially when it's, inopportune moments. And so, yeah, we want to be just keeping track of those. And then the opposite is true. When we have a thought that feels really good, we want to milk that thought. Instead, what we tend to do is we're like Velcro with the things that don't feel good and Teflon for the things that are and for the good experiences.
Yeah. So we need to be mindful that when we're feeling good, when we are saying nice things to ourselves, stay in that energy, stay there and keep trying. Like, would you recommend that we start thinking of other things that we like about ourselves or doing other things to make ourselves feel good?
Yeah, it just depends on, again, how much that thought is impacting you. If it's really upsetting you, then you want to maybe get on to a completely other subject. Just see how you feel. A huge other aspect is to just make the decision, as you alluded to before, that I am going to become my best friend. Like, I'm the number one person in my life. If I want anything to happen in it, it's up to me. And so I need to treat myself like that magnificent person that I know I am.
Yeah.
Even if I don't feel it right now.
Yeah.
And a wonderful way to do that doesn't cause any pressure or stress is to create an appreciation journal about ourselves. And I actually happen to have one here right now.
Just so happens.
And what it's, I don't know where I'm supposed to point the camera, but the title is What I Love About You.
What I love about you. Cute. So this is for me to write myself notes about what I love about myself?
Yes.
How often do I do this?
So you do it as much as possible, and the benefit of doing it is you, unlike affirmations, which I am a big fan of, but unlike affirmations, you don't have to try and change or do anything different or become this big superstar. You are writing about the truth of you rather than the falsities that you've been filling your mind with. So you take your journal or you write on your phone or anything that's handy, whatever's easiest, that's what you want to do.
Okay.
And you start writing in it everything you appreciate about yourself.
So it's like a gratitude journal, but for yourself, for what you're grateful for of yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you start from like kindergarten or even younger, and it might sound really silly, but you know what? I graduated from kindergarten. I'm awesome, right? You want to be braggadocious on the inside, like Muhammad Ali kind of thing. So you write down everything. So I graduated from kindergarten, from grade 1, from grade 2. I have beautiful hair. I'm a great singer. I remember the time that I played scrub baseball with my neighborhood and how much fun that was. Anything and everything that you've done, friends that you've made, trips that you've gone on, like Everything counts. Or even talking about, oh, I love cooking. Whatever is going to give you a positive, good feeling emotion along with that written thought, that goes in there. Anything that feels good. And then, so let's say you take an hour and you fill it out. And then you go back and you read it again, but you don't just read it. You read it with feeling. You want to feel the emotion.
So you want to almost put yourself back in the place where you were when you achieved that award, or you did that thing, or you got that job, or whatever. You want to almost feel those feelings again.
Yes, yes, you totally do. And the reason why you want to do this is because you want to kind of rewire your brain, retrain your brain, because we're biologically focused to wired to focus on the negative. You really need to put a lot of investment into doing the absolute opposite.
It's so frustrating that we are biologically wired to focus on the negative.
I agree.
Darn it. Why can't we just change that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, and we can. And I'm telling you, it absolutely, and I think you know this too, it absolutely works. It's just absolutely huge. It's whatever we focus on does get bigger, we get more of it, and you get better and better at becoming an appreciator, not only of yourself, but of the things around you. And so these are some other things you can do. Say you wake up in the morning, take 2 minutes while you're laying in bed and just think about everything that you appreciate, even just the most basic things. I love my bed, I love my pillow, I love my toothbrush, I love my job and my kids, and I love the weather. Anything and everything you can, because that's not your normal bent. So you just want to keep working at it every day.
So are most people waking up in the morning and the first things they're thinking are negative about themselves?
Well, maybe not necessarily about themselves, but just kind of like, oh my gosh, I got to go to work.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, the traffic.
Yeah.
I got to turn in this report.
Okay.
And you don't even give yourself a chance.
Yeah.
Right? So you're just catapulted into your day.
Yeah.
This is about mindfully, so in awareness, figuring out how can I start my day in a way that's going to make me feel good about myself, feel loving towards myself, feeling appreciative. Okay? And then you want to set an intention for your day rather than just sort of bouncing out into your day and confronting or coming up against someone or a situation that's going to throw you off, for instance, traffic. Instead of kind of freaking out or being upset about it, you've already gotten yourself into a really nice mood of appreciation, of loving yourself, of feeling good. So you're in the car, and the better you get at this, the more you're kind of calm about it. It's just kind of like, well, I have a car, aren't I lucky? And I have a job to go to. That's awesome. And I'm awesome, and just...
As opposed to, this commute and this long drive and the weather and the traffic, like we're already in a mindset of feeling more positive about ourselves and our situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep. And then there's a few other things you can do. Well, there's lots of things you can do, but there are 3 postures that you can try as well. We know that our bodies, our cells can feel the positive impact simply if we just change our posture. So if we do something like a power pose where maybe you don't want to do this in front of everybody in the office, but you can go in the bathroom or in your office and just put your hands on your hips and do a power pose. That affects you right down to the cellular level and you feel good.
How long do we hold these poses?
Well, I guess you could do them for as long as you want to.
Okay.
I'm not sure
Until you feel powerful.
Yeah, until you feel good. Like, hey, if you want to do it all day long, go for it.
Okay.
And that's another thing too. Humor is a great thing for improving your mood and feeling self-love and feeling proud of yourself and appreciative. So you've got the power pose, and then the other one is a victory pose where you just put your arms up in the air and you do that for a little while until that feels good. Another one is just a Mona Lisa smile. Just, you're not doing it to get everybody else's attention, but you're just doing it for yourself. You've changed your posture.
What I love about your tips is that, as opposed to tradition, what we're hearing about self-care, bubble baths and wine and all of these other things that we can go and do, and yet I just find that sometimes that's really not the kind of self-care that that really is meaningful and that's really impactful on our lives.
That's the thing. Whenever you do work from the inside, it has permanent and lasting effect. A bubble bath is really awesome, but if you're not even feeling good or feel you deserve that bath, then you're not going to enjoy it anyway. And something else I wanted to say about this self-love is that when you love yourself, you don't need to look outside for love. You don't need to look for approval from other people. You approve of yourself, so you can maintain your standards and your values, and you're not kind of grasping and needy. And that's a really big, important thing.
That's such an important, that's kind of everything, isn't it? When it comes to,
it's everything.
When we're wanting to, and I don't even like to talk about getting a relationship, it's when we're prepared to receive a relationship.
That's it.
It's when we've done the work on ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say, too, that, you know, quantum physics, I don't know much about it, but what I do know is that based on the research, we know that we affect each other energetically without even saying a word. So my thoughts and feelings can be picked up by you. So let's say, and other people. So let's say I'm not feeling worthy, I don't feel good enough, I don't feel as worthy as I think you feel about yourself. So I'm feeling kind of lesser than. You can pick that up. Other people can pick that up. And then we attract like energy, so we're attracting people who don't think we're worthy, or that maybe they don't feel worthy about themselves. So that's a really big reason. It's kind of like a big broadcast that you're broadcasting out there to everybody. And it's not even true, because you are magnificent and worthy and adored as soon as you're born. You don't earn that. It just is.
And we just forget.
Yeah.
We forget over time, especially as, you know, again, that inner critic at whatever age, 2 years old, all of a sudden gets created, and boom, we are off and running on saying nasty things to ourselves and not taking care of ourselves and treating ourselves well.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, thank goodness you're here to teach us about this stuff.
Yeah.
All right, we have about 1 minute left. What else do we want to talk about regarding self-love?
Okay, a real quick one. So as explained, it's all about our thoughts. Our thoughts create our feelings. So we want to have more control over those thoughts, so we can do mindfulness exercises, practices. You can be in the grocery store, and what you're trying to do is just calm your mind down and focus on what you want to focus on, not where your mind wants to take you. So one exercise is called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're in line, you think of 5 things, you think about 5 things that you see, and you name them off, and you to yourself, and you breathe in between. So 5 things I see, then 5 things I hear, then 5 things I physically feel. For instance, my rings on my fingers, my necklace around my neck. It takes you out of your head and into the here and now, into the safety zone of now.
Beautiful. I wish we didn't have to go to break, but we do. I'll have Linda Miller from Misty River Introductions after the break. Be better for us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're talking about relationships in this show. And I've got Linda Miller, founder of Misty River Introductions, a dating service that matches people the traditional way. Linda works all over Ontario, and she's with me today to share what people really need to focus on when looking for a life partner. Welcome, Linda.
Hi.
So happy to have you with me. So my question to you, you are matching people all over the place all the time. Mm-hmm. Are people coming to you saying, I'm looking for tall, dark, and handsome, and yet they've kind of done that over and over and over again, and it hasn't always yielded the right results? Should we be looking for something else? And is that kind of what you help us to do?
I think you always have to keep in mind that there should be sort of things that are very important to you. So if that's a religion, or if that's someone who's a certain height, or someone who plays golf, those things, you should have a short list of those things that are really, really important. But you have to realize that people aren't, being cracked out of molds in the basement. We're not making them for you. It's very hard to predict what the person you end up with will look like or be like. It's like when you read a book and you imagine that character in a book, and then you see the movie and you think, oh my God, why did they cast that person in that role? It's not that person. And dating is a little like that. You can really anticipate, what this a mythical person is going to be like. And it's funny, sometimes people will come to me and they'll say, I've decided to hire you because I make terrible choices. I pick the worst people. And those people I can sometimes more easily help because they're sometimes choosing for the wrong things. I think it's really important to remember that you want somebody who adores you. Someone who's happy before they come into the relationship.
Yes,
because
kind of
you
like
can't make anyone happy.
Yeah.
And that's really huge. But of course, chemistry and attraction is really important as well. And I never tell people just to discount that because it's what keeps the relationship going over time.
Does every relationship need to start with chemistry and attraction, or can that grow over time?
No, it's like I'm sure most people have had this experience where they work with someone that they don't notice at all. For the first 3 or 4 times they meet them, they don't register with them at all. And then after a period of time of working with them, you become very attracted and interested in them and find them attractive. So dating can be like that. I say, if you think somebody's okay on a first date, go on a second date. You may become, over time, attracted to them because of their sense of humor, their confidence, their personality. So you have to think about that when you're dating.
I think sometimes movies almost are a detriment, right? They portray love as something that it really isn't. I think that so often it's just this romantic portrayal, and we all think that that's what we should be waiting for and looking for. And when it doesn't happen, we feel like we've lost out somehow.
Yeah, there is a little bit of and especially as women, we buy into this whole, handsome prince kind of thing, right? And we all think that if we're just patient, the right person is going to come along. When in reality, it doesn't work that way. The guy that pulls over to change your tire on the side of the highway is married, and he's just changing your tire because he'd do that. He hopes somebody will do that for his wife. So that sort of magic, handsome prince coming along is really difficult. It happens for some people, but it's fairly rare. Sometimes you have to be proactive. You have to hire a matchmaker. You have to tell them what you want, and you're more likely to actually get what you want.
Absolutely. So walk us through a little bit of the process. We have about 3 minutes. I'd love to know what happens when somebody comes to you and says, I'm looking for someone.
Well, the first thing I do is sit down with them and find out that we have in sufficient numbers the kind of people they're looking for. And then if I feel like that's a good fit, I'll go through quite an extensive questionnaire to find out, what are they? What are they looking for? Who are they? What is their past relationship history? And what they're looking for going forward. And then if I feel like I understand that person, I can match them more easily. And it's a process. It takes time. Some people are matched instantly almost. And then some people will take a year or more to meet someone that they like.
So they're going on dates, though, like you're setting up dates?
Oh, yeah, they're going on dates,
Yeah.
and we're giving coaching because part of what we do is coaching and making sure that we're kind of following you through the process. So as we're getting feedback from people, if we feel it's constructive, we'll say, well, this is the feedback we're getting, so that the person can not only meet someone they're attracted to and interested in, but actually have it turn into a relationship that they want as well.
Yeah, well, it was funny when we were chatting before doing this show together, you were telling me that you had matched somebody and let her know about this man, and she sent you a 3-page email telling you all the reasons why it was never going to work before having met him. Yes,
and you have to really be careful of that because some people so overthink the process.
Yeah.
It's, it should be, you hear a profile, you like the sounds of it, you like the picture, you talk on the phone for 15 minutes, and then you should make arrangements to meet. Because you're never going to know it's going to work out by talking on the phone or emailing or any of those things. You really need to sit down with a person.
Face to face.
Yeah, and overthinking sort of the minute things on someone's profile, like, it doesn't really matter what kind of music he listens to. Unless you're, running the jazz festival, then that's different. Maybe he should like jazz. But so you have to think in those terms. You don't have to be a perfect match. You're not going to be joined at the hip. Most people are fully formed adults. They have some of their own interests, and you can expect him to have some of his own interests as well.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank goodness you do the work you do to help people that are really struggling with maybe not wanting to do the online dating or all of those other things that are available. You're the old school, the real way to do it, matching real people with other real people. Thank you for being here. Thanks. All right, after the break, I'll have Kate McNamara, founder of A Date by Kate, with me to share how we can keep our dating life exciting even when we're in long-term relationships. Back in a moment. Welcome back to Real Talk with Sarah. We're talking about relationships in this show, and I've got Kate McNamara, founder of A Date by Kate, with me to share how we can keep things interesting in our relationships, even if we've been together for a long time. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm so happy to have you. I watched the birth of your baby, A Date by Kate.
5 years ago, yes.
We've known each other quite a while. It's a thrill to have you here. So what can we do if we are in relationships but feel like a dinner and a movie is the only kind of go-to date that we ever think of?
Yeah, so while there's always my service, I swoop in and I plan custom dates for couples. And then if you weren't interested in one of my full itineraries where I get you to fill out a questionnaire and then I send you out on a day-long adventure.
So cool.
Couples have been asking me for quicker options, so something easy that they can go to, and maybe your kids are at home and you've just put them to bed and it's 7 p.m. So you pull an idea out of my date can.
All right, so let's show this fun, handy-dandy date can. I love this idea. So the date can is filled with pieces of paper.
Yep, 24 different date ideas for $24. So it's nice and easy. I've done all the research for you, and I've even come up with little golden nuggets, I like to call them, of things that maybe you didn't know were happening in the city. So for example, Fabrications. This is the Crafty Can. Fabrications is a sewing store. They do lessons where you could make your own underwear with your partner, so boxer briefs and such. So you could go as a couple and do that together.
Oh my gosh, so is everything done just here in Ottawa or the Ottawa area?
This is Ottawa for now, but I'm hoping to do Kingston, Toronto, etc. But for viewers that are not in Ottawa at the moment, what I would suggest is just perusing some blogs and things, and then maybe you take the top 10 different ideas that you've come across with your partner and throw them into a can or throw them into a mug even. It doesn't matter. So that in the moments where you're like, what do you want to do tonight? I don't know. What do you want to do?
Yes.
You pull something out of the pot.
And give us some suggestions. What would you say for sort of the busy parents who can't maybe go out on a date? What can they put in their can that can still spice things up a little bit?
Right before I came here, I had chatted with someone who did this in real life, but they had taken, I think it was like a basket filled with water balloons. So when their partner came home, this basket was just sitting there, and it would be in the summer. So now you could do snowballs almost. No winter's coming, but you could have that ready with a little note saying, come and find me. Like, it's just something so simple, and we wouldn't think to do it because I feel like at what point do we cut out the fun? Do we stop acting like a kid? So my job is to help adults to still act like children, basically.
Yeah, and I think in relationships we stop having that kind of spontaneous fun that we do when we first get into that relationship.
Because work is busy, and your kids make it more busy, and your dogs that you have to walk for 14 hours a week, like it all compiles. So hire a babysitter. It's really important to get some alone time. Send your dogs to dog daycare and just really have an unplugged night. No phones. Shut off the TV. And it's great to watch TV together and have a series in common. But at the same time, if you want one of these date nights, I would say. Just shut her down.
Yeah, I think
do
we watch
something
enough
different.
TV.
Yeah.
That's not considered a date anymore.
Yes.
All right, so give us an example of what's inside this can.
Okay, so this is the crafty can, and this one is called Silence. So there was a couple that I planned a date for once, and they talk and talk and talk and talk. So I actually tasked them to being silent, and they did it at a restaurant, and they had to make a little sign for their server that said, "We're not allowed to talk right now." And it was inspired by an artist named Marina, and I'm not going to say her last name right, but Abramovic. She sat for 750 hours at the Museum of Modern Art, and she sat there completely still, and people had to come up and be across from her. No one was allowed to speak, and it went from crying to laughing, and it all depended on the person that was in front of them. So imagine just sitting across from your partner trying for 5 or 10 minutes to just look at them.
Yeah.
When have you ever done that? So it's like these weird little activities that I try and task people to get them thinking outside of the box.
But so creative, and I love that with your customized dates where you really go into detail.
Yes.
There's like a major questionnaire people go
Yeah.
through, and you really get to know these couples.
Yeah,
So-
and they come back.
Oh,
like the
that's-
next year, they'll be like, do you want to plan our next anniversary date, or I don't know, wedding gifts, that sort of thing. So it's cool to add on to their file that I already know about them.
Oh, how fun. What an amazing business that you've created. I love it. Give us one more example of one of these dates. We've got about 30
Oh,
seconds
gosh.
left.
Which one do I want? Again, in the crafty can, you could go to a 613 Flea. So Ottawa is full of different craft shows. When you're at the craft show, maybe you're perusing and you hear something that your partner was really interested in, and you use that as a holiday gift idea. So just taking those little notes and subtle things that your partner says, and I know the holidays are coming up, so piece it all together, and there you go.
It's so much fun because I just think, again, we can just get into these ruts where we're just not having fun with our partner anymore. We've let the tasks of life drag us down,
Yeah.
and we're not having any more fun. We're forgetting that we want to still date.
Yeah.
I think that's a big misconception, that people just stop dating when they either get married or become partnered, you know?
Yeah, and living together. I wouldn't know, but
You wouldn't know. I know. I just think that we need to get more creative. I think this is a great way for people to get more creative. So people can order these online?
yes.
Amazing. So
adatebykate.com.
adatebykate.com.
Yeah.
So order your date can. Super good idea. Thank you so much for being with us to help us reinvigorate our relationships. After the break, I'll have Marian Meade back on with me to share about what we can really learn from our relationships and how to navigate them even when things are hard. Back in a moment. Welcome back to Real Talk. We're talking about relationships on this show, and I've got Marian Meade back with me to delve deep into our love relationships, the do's, the don'ts, what we need to know to thrive. Welcome back, Marian.
Thank you.
So we talked in the first segment about self-love and learning to use your strategies that are going to help us to feel better, on our own. But what about when we get into relationships? So I know that you have a really personal story about your own relationship, your own love relationship. I'd love for you to share a little bit about that.
Oh, absolutely. So Dave and I met, we've been married for 32 years now. We met when we were very young and had a long distance relationship for a long time. We got married when we were about 26. And when we first got together, he told me that he was attracted to me because I was bubbly and very caring. And I was attracted to him because he's very confident and very competent. And we were magnetically really attracted to each other, and that was really great. We never talked about what was going to happen after we got married. We didn't talk about anything. And like most couples, we didn't have what I call emotional fitness. So the ability to really be in charge of our emotions, to tolerate distress, criticism, not to take things personally. So when we're emotionally fit, we're in charge of our emotions, we're able to soothe ourselves, we're able to think and feel at the same time, calm ourselves down, put ourselves in other people's shoes, that kind of thing. Well, we didn't have those skills, and as we talked about earlier, people don't learn them kind of until they have to.
Yeah.
And I believe it's the cause of a lot of relationship breakdowns. So we didn't have that, but we started off, we were, happy, and we ended up having 3 kids who are the love of our lives. At one point, though, we just got to the point where, we didn't really enjoy being around each other a lot. We'd have, really good times, but one thing would go wrong, and we'd both kind of hang on to that one thing.
Like in an argument, like you'd both kind of bring it up?
Yeah.
Do you mean hang on to it that way?
Yeah, and also say things are going great, but then one thing would go wrong, and we'd hang on to that. Like, you have wounded me, and I need to protect myself. So kind of stepping away, backing away, going and retreating. And so that was kind of tough, and that we didn't really know what to do. And because of my background, I tend to be, as a lot of women do, the kind of relationship manager, and the emotional person who figures stuff out. And I did a lot of research, and I studied, and I did this and I did that, and it didn't seem to help too much.
So did you consider relationship counseling early on?
Yeah, we did. We went once, and that didn't go over too well. And I will say to your listeners that just because one person in the relationship isn't up to going, that doesn't mean that they don't care. It just means that that environment could be extremely uncomfortable for them. And for a lot of men, it's just a total no-go. It's just super uncomfortable. Women are used to talking about their feelings, their emotions, about the relationships. That's much more within our repertoire, but for men, not so much. Anyway, we did, and I was quite surprised at the time at how little support there was out there. In any case, we got to the point where we were kind of like teetering on the edge of considering getting divorced, because we just couldn't get along, and we didn't really know what to do. That's the thing. Yeah. Nothing seemed to be working.
And you felt like there was so much more out there that you weren't experiencing in your relationship. Like, were you feeling like you weren't being fulfilled in your relationship, so there must be more out there? Like, I just am saying, because I know that so many people say the grass is greener, or they think the grass is greener, right?
I didn't think of it that way. I just thought this is not this isn't working at this point. It's not working. And Dave felt the same way. We both felt it.
Yeah.
But then I thought to myself, I really realized how much we had invested in the relationship, how much we had both grown, how much I did admire about him and love about him, what a great father he was, so many fantastic qualities that he had. And the thought of him leaving and being in another relationship, and that person benefiting from all the work that we had done, to be honest, and also someone else kind of co-parenting my kids, that really made me get even more serious about there has to be a way. Even though I thought we've tried everything, and I think a lot of couples out there think, well, we tried everything. I never think people just give up easily. I don't think that. I think they feel like, I tried everything, and nothing worked. So that's when I really started delving even more into myself, because I have to admit that I thought to myself, deep down, if only he would get his act together, then we'd be fine.
Yeah.
And couples always show up for counseling or coaching and think that, just straighten him out, just straighten her out, and we'll be fine. And that's just not the case. It's always taken two to tango. What made the big difference, because I think everything helped, and we did make some progress all along, but the thing that made the most difference for me was when I found out again about quantum physics and recognizing how we affect each other energetically without saying a word. A professor heard about this and decided he wanted to do an experiment with his wife without her knowing. So for 2 weeks, on all the odd days, he'd think about all the things he didn't like about his wife. And he'd go to work and he'd think all day long about everything that bugged him about her. And then on the even days, he'd think about all the things that he just loved about her so much. And at the end of those 2 weeks, without fail, every time he thought negatively about her, he'd come home, she wouldn't be there, the house would be in darkness, or she'd be incommunicado, you know, inside of her office. The days that he thought positively about her, she'd be at the door greeting him with a glass of wine or a drink of water or, you know, something refreshing, and just, let's sit down, let's talk. And when he told her about this, I thought she'd be angry, but she was really relieved, because she thought that, like, she knew something was wrong, but she couldn't put her finger on it. So she could feel something, but she just didn't know what it was.
Wow.
With that, I decided to put that into practice, and I just thought anytime I ever thought about him, I just always thought about all the positive aspects, everything that I liked and loved about him, how funny, how generous, how intelligent, how resourceful, how engaged in life, so many things that I actually, the list was endless. And that really made a huge difference for me.
Oh my goodness, I can only even imagine the huge difference it would make, just even taking the pen and the paper, or even the thoughts of writing it down, or thinking about all of the things that we love about our partner.
Yeah.
Just even the act of doing that, just in the way that it would make me feel to do that, I can only imagine what it does then in the relationship energetically.
Yeah, exactly. And once again, you're retraining your brain to take your focus off of your interpretations and your assumptions and your judgments. And, you know, when we judge, there is no love. Love doesn't exist, right? Love is the absence of judgment. I think that was the Dalai Lama that said that. So it's super powerful. It's super important. Like, it's just so effective. And you don't have to, there's no arguing, there's no discussing, there's no he said, she said. You're just doing this from your heart.
So can I ask, in your own relationship, did Dave know you were doing this? Just like the husband didn't tell the wife. Were you telling Dave you were?
No, I didn't tell him I was doing it, because I thought that would just mess with it.
And so when did it come up that you told him that this is what you had done, or how did it?
I'm not sure if we've actually really talked about it too much, but he's been so involved in my work and the work that I do. He's come to my, you know, my talks, my workshops and things like that, and then he's got his own things going. You know, he's really embraced. He'll laugh when I say this, but being an alpha male, he's really embraced his feminine side, and so he's all over this. We're having so much fun now. We're just having a blast. We just came back from a cruise in Greece, and it was just awesome.
Oh my goodness, and think what would have happened if you had decided, you know, 25 years ago, or however, 20 years ago, whenever it was that you were saying, maybe we should just get divorced. Like, maybe this should just be the end of this.
I never would have known who he was, for real, right? And the family would have been split up. Everything would have been so different. So I tell this story to give hope to other people. You know, this isn't just something out of a book. This is tried and true. It works, and it's just, I couldn't be happier. So.
Oh, I'm so glad that it's worked so beautifully for you.
Yeah.
So tell us about the stages of a relationship. We all hear about the honeymoon stage, but then what kind of comes after?
So in the honeymoon phase, we all know that the couple just can't stop gazing into each other's eyes. They are so excited that they have so much in common, and it's just absolute bliss. And in fact, if the honeymoon phase goes well and is like that, that really bodes well for the success of a relationship, because not all relationships have that kind of, for lots of reasons, have that kind of opportunity in the beginning. The second phase is called the differentiation phase. That's where disillusionment comes in, and you start to see the person more clearly. In the honeymoon phase, it's very superficial, but the next phase, you know, if the couple is feel safe enough, they start to share their thoughts, their feelings, and the couple starts to realize, oh my gosh, you're different than I thought you were. A lot of anxiety can come up, realizing that they're different, because in the honeymoon phase, it's all about we're just the same.
Yes.
We love the same music, we eat the same food, and so then you get to this next phase, it can feel really scary for a couple, but if they don't get into that phase, then the relationship cannot grow. It would be just so boring. Oh, we're just the same, we think the same, we act the same. Now, in that phase, there's kind of three options of what to do. Either the couple goes, this is not working for me, I'm out of here. The second option is to just be unable, too anxious to identify that, yeah, we are different and we think differently. So they just the couples kind of soldiers on and just kind of pretends everything's okay, but they never get to know each other. And then the third option is, I'm going to get to know you. I'm going to accept you as you are. I'm going to understand you and embrace the fact that we are different. And you can't have passion in a relationship unless you've got some conflict, unless you've got some, differing of opinions, and you won't get to know each other unless you allow for that.
That's so interesting that you say that you won't have passion in a relationship without that.
Yeah.
I think so many people think that if you don't love all the same things and that you're not same with everything, that there's something wrong there. But that's really the opposite is true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Tell me about this notebook again. You wanted to talk about it a second time.
Well, just as much as it is very powerful for you as an individual, it's very powerful to do on your partner, to do for your partner, and they can do one for you. I've had other people do this little appreciation journal on their kids, on their mothers, on their fathers. Sometimes we can really get ourselves into a rut of the way that we think about other people. And this is a way to get out of it.
Wow.
And just magnify the good in them, magnify it. And it's almost like casting a spell on somebody when you feel like you're appreciated and adored and valued and accepted for who you are, you rise up. Mm-hmm.
How powerful. So you're saying to write notes in here about the other person.
Yeah.
So that's what it's for.
Yes.
I also know there are some couples that they leave a notebook out and they write nice things for one another.
That's really nice.
I really love that too.
Yeah, that's
we have
really
about
nice.
1 minute left. What is one last nugget of advice that we need to hear from you?
Okay, you must nurture your relationship if you want it to survive. Love will take wings and fly away if you don't nurture it. It doesn't just stay because, okay, I checked off, I married this person or I moved in with this person, now we have a relationship, okay, now I can focus on other things. No, you have to prioritize it. You have to make, people split up because they feel like they're being ignored, they're not being appreciated. So make that person the number one person in your life and make yourself right in there too. Make time for the I in the relationship. You as individuals, make time for the we. When your partner comes home, get up and go to the door. Don't keep your nose in your computer or on the phone, right?
I have to cut you off. I wish I didn't have to. When we come back, I'll share my final thoughts. Thank you so much, Marian. Back in a moment. Until I embarked on a journey of personal growth, I believed that being in a love relationship was the way I defined my worth as a woman. From the time I started dating in my teens until I became single in my 30s, my life was like a revolving door of relationships, with me repeating the same behaviors over and over and over again, never receiving or heeding the lessons locked inside. When I moved to Ottawa, I spent almost 4 years single, and that time allowed me to develop some emotional fitness, as Marian calls it, and learn that I really am and need to be the most important person in my life. Those 4 years helped me understand that tending to my own needs was not being selfish. Rather, it was necessary if I was ever going to have success or experience fulfillment in my love relationships. I'm so grateful to have used that time to work on me, to ready me for my relationship with Roger. And whether you are single or partnered, I believe we all need to prioritize ourselves so that we can be the most important people in our lives. Thank you to my guest, Marian Meade, for helping us delve deeper into our own psyche and uncover what we can learn in our relationships, both with ourselves and with others. And thank you to Linda Miller for helping us know what really matters when seeking a love match, and to Kate McNamara for not allowing us to get too comfortable when it comes to our dating lives. If you are struggling in your relationship with yourself or with a partner, then it is my sincere hope that something that was shared today will be a catalyst for change. Until next time, I want you to remember one thing, that no matter where you are and no matter how it feels, you are never, ever alone. See you next time.